as you were saying, my title and my discipline is anthropology. Okay, let's start with the big why. For developing country, the urgency of higher education comes intending to retain continuity of economic growth. In developing countries, the job markets await knowledgeable workers, hence the need for quality education. Besides, parents and guardians believe that bright future could only be ensured through higher education. Nevertheless, the higher education system and its global context transform youth into a product for a competitive market. This product has more value in urban context than the rural. Running after professionalism convinces us to trade where maximum facilities and big opportunities are available. Here's the big opportunities cooperate with the interests, with individual interests. This trend set and barriers for the graduates' integration to their local areas, backed by an intention to share their higher degrees with local people. This negligence is not the result of some thorough events, rather it is based in our education, discourses of development, and modernization. Therefore, the principal question of this study is where the consequences lead. Let's see a timeline of literature on this context. In 2012, Gala and Chidil's study of rural youth aspirations in Ethiopia revealed that the aspirations are not just economic opportunity. Status is important. Agriculture is unappealing to young people because it does not bring status regardless economic outcomes. At the same year, Fuller did a work in Thailand. Uh, he, he revealed that young rural people report agriculture work as hot and exhausting, and that many lured to large cities in search of sophisticated lifestyles. In 2014, Lundis and Suti claimed that rural-urban migration is part of the structural transformation needed to achieve economic development. In 2017, under the supervision of World Bank and the International Fund for Agriculture Development, Benfica, Townsend, Fossen, and Lee concluded a work titled Rural Youth Development. They are claiming people from rural areas often excluded from policy-making processes. And in 2019, Tribal and Morel state that the engagement of youth has gained a high profile among international organizations, governments, and non-governmental organizations. So uh, the arguments I'm the arguments I'm focusing here is that are the graduates a part of youth? Now, United Nations define the age range of youth from 15 to 24 years. If you look at the average graduate age, it is more than 25 years. And for the developing countries like Bangladesh, it is close to 30 years. So how we denoting graduates? And the issues of modernizations need to scrutinize in this context, the domination of modernization in changing the meaning of success, honor, and even in desert satisfaction uh, to sports, something which is related to rural activities. We must have to encounter the issue of modernization. But this is an absolute negligence, as I told. Either the negligence of indigenous knowledge and the negligence towards the rural are evident. Uh, this study conducted under the theoretical framework of unintended consequences of Robert P. Martin. Martin's work published in 1936 titled Unanticipated Consequences of Purposive Social Action. Martin concept summarization might look like an actor forces an objective to be gained or an outcome to be avoided. The actor creates a plan of action designed to achieve the objective or avert the undesired outcomes. Eventually, the plan of action turns out to create an unforeseen or unintended series of development that lend to result in contrary to the actor's objectives. Therefore, the objectives of the study are to appraise those platforms where local graduates are involving in development activities and to estimate the perspective of local graduate on rural sustainability. Uh, to stand this study, tools like in-depth interviews, Focus group discussions and content analysis were used. Several interviews with local graduates from rural areas, their guardians, and stakeholders in rural development activities were arranged. Uh, the findings of this study, uh, the there are insertion of myths when picturing rural, like graduates have no platform in rural areas. This myth is a reflection of common misconception regarding rural versus urban dichotomy, as rural is always pictured from agricultural lands. This leads us to admit there is no such reliable platform for graduate in rural areas except agriculture and small-scale farming. And another one is the misconception is rural problems could solve by financing, but the most important thing is if you look at the rural is a collective thing. You have to approach to solve your problems from a collective way. So, and the inclusion of negligence, as I told earlier, the absolute negligence, like negligence of indigenous knowledge, show the inclusion of modern science and the negligence towards the world. But there's a spark in rural future, as it is involvement providing a space for the local graduates to involve in rural sustainable activities. A local graduate could uphold the indigenous knowledge, incorporating with modern science or modern knowledge, as modern science face difficulties in mass acceptance in rural areas. Local graduates could minimize this gap. Local graduates could appraise the indigenous knowledge and refine it with modern science. Therefore, I'm uttering the words of Martin, undeserved effects are not always undesirable effects. Once again, thank you for your kind patience and thank you for having me here. May all things be well. That's all.
Thank you. From your presentation, Mr. Tain Chiu. We would like to see if any participants have any presentation, any question regarding this presentation. If there is any question, please raise hand.